ever since the release of Ultra Instinct Sign Goku, the first ever unit with a unique gauge, we have gotten exactly 22 units with a unique gauge. That's quite a lot of them, each with all sorts of different abilities. So we're going to be going over all of them and ranking them to see which unit truly has the best unique gauge. So let's go. So we have the list here. Of course, as usual, shout out to DNG for providing the tier list with all the units up to date. As you can see, the Ginyu Force are right there, but I took the liberty of placing all of the units that we have with the unique gauge, starting from UI sign all the way to the last one, Perfect Cell here. So there's actually quite a few of them. I kind of remember what each of them does. I mainly remember them based off of their impact as a unit specifically. A lot of these units are kind of carried by their unique gauge, some are not, but you can really tell how impactful some of these unique gauges are based on how powerful the unit was in their meta, right? How useful a unique gauge is kind of tied to how good the unit was on release, right? So that's kind of how we're gonna base this off of. Obviously, we have to look at what exactly these unique gauges provide for them, but we also have to see how they mesh with the unit itself, right? So let's just start things off. I want to start this off by talking about the UI Gokus, specifically UI Sign Goku here, Rev UI here, they both have the same unique gauge, and then Mastered Ultra Instinct, or just simply Ultra Instinct Goku here, who has a similar unique gauge, but his unique gauge is a lot better because it actually provides the counter that deals damage, right? Now, some might argue that the counter, even though it does deal damage, it's kind of annoying because some people would rather utilize the dodges and then potentially perform a perfect vanish after the dodge. That's happened to me quite a few times where they're launching a bunch of attacks, and as they notice that my unique gauge is out, they go for another attack quickly, and you're able to PV off that. You're not able to do that with UI Goku because he automatically counters once you get that unique gauge, right? Right off the bat, I do think that's one of the better unique gauges in the game. Just having the ability to stall out your opponent, controlling your sub counts, all that stuff. I think that is what made this guy especially really good, also with some other mechanics, but I believe his unique gauge was his biggest asset. So UI Goku obviously being one of the best units on release. So right off the bat, I'm gonna put these guys at tier 1. I'm just gonna have 3 tiers. I don't really want to make them too big. I might add a 4th tier, we'll see, but I think the dodging mechanic is definitely one of the better unique gauges. Now moving on to Trunks. Trunks' unique gauge is it's decent, right? It's a sustained damage gauge, which means you fill it up by taking damage. So you're not able to fill it up yourself, right? So it's dependent on the opponent doing damage to you, which I feel is like not the greatest. I think sustained damage cut unique gauges are probably the worst types of unique gauges because you're not in control of when you fill it up. You're really only dependent on the opponent dealing damage to you. So let's say you're just completely destroying a team, you're not going to be seeing that unique gauge popped at all, right? I'm not a fan of sustained damage cut unique gauges, but for the most part, those unique gauges do provide a bunch of buffs once you activate it. There's actually a lot of unique gauges like that just, provides a bunch of buffs when you get the unique gauge out, right? I don't think he's entirely reliant on that unique gauge, but he does get a big chunk of his damage, especially his ult damage and the card draw speed with the unique gauge there. But just the simple nature of it being a sustained damage cut unique gauge, I'm gonna put it at tier 3. I'm gonna start off with it there. Maybe we'll fix it as we go on, but I think we're gonna start off at tier 3. And I guess we can do all these sustained damage cut unique gauges while we're at it. I think 17 has one too. We're gonna put it there. 17's unique gauge is not terrible. It's like pretty much the same thing as Trunks, but I feel like he gets a bit less from the unique gauge than Trunks. I think 17 is not actually entirely reliant on his unique gauge. He has a bunch of other stuff that he does really well, and I feel like the unique gauge is just like a bit of sprinkle on top. Also, you gotta remember that it also buffs up his green card. When his unique gauge is actually filled up, he gets cover null on his green card, and he provides the damage inflicted. So when you think of it that way, it's actually not too bad, but just again, having the sustained damage cut unique gauge is not the best, but I feel like it's a bit better, and just 17 as a unit is obviously better than Trunks. We'll keep him like that for now, but let's just go through all these sustained damage cut unique gauges. Now, Broly also has a sustained damage cut unique gauge, but his is a bit different as it resets every time you fill it up, and you just get a bunch of buffs, right? You get reduced ki, you randomly destroys a Dragon Ball, randomly destroys enemy cards, heals, he gets cover null, all some good stuff, right? And even reduces your enemy's vanishing gauge to 0. So his unique gauge flows really well with his kit, but simply because Broly as a unit didn't really age the best. I can't entirely rely how good the unit was on release because that has nothing to do with the unique gauge itself. Like, a unit could have a really good unique gauge but just not be on par. So it's really hard to rank these unique gauges because it all depends on how the unit functions. But like I said in the beginning, a lot of these units impact on the meta also depends on their unique gauge, and because again it's a sustained damage cut unique, it didn't really do that much for him. We're gonna be putting him here as well. And then we come over to Orange Piccolo, who is the final one with the unique gauge from sustained damage, and honestly I think we're gonna put him here as well. The problem with Piccolo is his unique gauge gives him a lot, but it's not enough, and that's also a big reason, a big problem that people had with this Piccolo Piccolo on his release and what kind of held him back from actually being quite relevant in the meta. The biggest problem people had is that this unique gauge only activates once, and for the amount of stuff you get, it's not enough. You can look at the unique gauges from 17 and Sword of Trunks, like it's not comparable to those guys, so they should have made his unique gauge reset every single time. That way you're able to cycle through those buffs repeatedly, and that would have had a bigger impact on him. But no, you could only get it once, and once all those stuff were gone, but the neutral, he wasn't able to get his neutral consistently. Because of that, he kind of suffered, and that's why we're gonna have to put him a bit lower on this list. Another unique gauge I want to put actually at the bottom here is Ultra Super Vegito. This guy's unique gauge, I feel like they just threw on the unique gauge just for the sake of giving him a unique gauge. It doesn't really provide anything for him. It does damage, cool. It gives him cover null, but you're not able to combo that cover null, so you're just kind of wasting it. And like I said, it just feels like they just threw it on there. That's not even the biggest asset for Vegito. It's really a bonus. His biggest asset is like the debuffs he applies, the long combos, the big damage. That's what he does, right? And me personally, I think it's probably the worst unique gauge we have in this game, unfortunately, because obviously he's my favorite unit, but they kind of dropped the ball with that unique gauge. Now we're going to move on to some attack type unique gauge. So these attack type unique gauges are very good. So let's just go through them. Ultra Gogeta, Super Gogeta. He had a phenomenal unique gauge. It filled up relatively fast, and you get a blue card and you're able to use it. And the best part is his blue card was able to destroy all your cards. His unique gauge on release, but his unique gauge was very, very powerful, especially because his blue card was so strong, right? So we're going to put him, actually, we're going to put him right here. I still think like the dodging unique gauge is a bit better than his unique gauge, but I think this Ultra Gogeta's unique gauge is still phenomenal. Then we come over to Dragon Fist. Unfortunately for Dragon Fist, this was the big problem with Dragon Fist here. His unique gauge took way too long to fill up. By the time you fill it up, the game's almost done. He's about to die. He's on his last leg. It's really unfortunate how slow his unique gauge was. But once you got it rolling, you had some pretty cool stuff. The ultimate, you can drop combo into the ultimate because it reduces vanish. I believe his green card was upgraded, his blue card locked in. So, you know, once you actually get that unique gauge filled up, he does become better, but it was not really useful for him because it takes way too long for it to actually fill up. So for that reason, we're going to be putting him probably like here. I think Sword of Trunks is a bit better in terms of unique gauge, so we're going to put him there. Then we come over to Beast Gohan. Now, Beast Gohan, of course, had a ridiculous unique gauge, giving him cover null for 15 timer counts, damage, arts card draw speed, and ultimate damage. It was just insane. And him having so much card draw speed, he was just plowing through people, like literally. And it's pretty easy to also empty it out. The blue card would be doing a lot more damage because it went neutral. The green card would go neutral. It was just so much tied in with that unique gauge that it made him truly impactful. So for that, we're going to be actually putting him at the #1 spot. It's just his unique gauge flowed so well with his kit. He was just a monster and he was basically unstoppable. And we pretty much know the Beast Gohan meta. Every single person in PvP was running him, so he had definitely one of the best unique gauges in the game, and even to this day it's still insane. Next we have Rose. Now Rose does have a really good unique gauge as well, but the problem with Rose, this was a similar problem with Dragon Fist, is that it took too long to actually fill up his gauge, right? It was good, but that was the only way you were able to get cover null with this Rose. So you would have to combo and combo until you can finally eventually get that cover null. But once you had that unique gauge pop, you're gonna start cooking. You're able to get your vanish back. You're able to get another ultimate, up to 2 extra ultimates, which was insane. His cover null was not consistent enough, and that unique gauge itself being a bit too slow is kind of what holds it back from being super, super top tier. But his unique gauge was still very good, but I wouldn't say it's on the same level as these guys. So we're gonna put this guy right here. I think you can go either way with those guys. Next we have Shallot. Now Shallot, I feel like he's in a similar situation to Orange Piccolo in the way that since it only fills up once and you get all those buffs, after that those timer counts expire, you don't get those buffs ever again, right? You get a lot with Shallot's unique gauge, by the way. You get double card draw speed, you get cover null, you get damage, you get a lot, right? After that certain period of time that you get that unique gauge popped, you're not able to see those buffs again. So that means you don't get any of that cover null again. You don't get that double card draw speed again. So those things kind of run out, and after that, Shallot is kind of like a sitting duck, right? So for that reason, it's kind of held back, and we're going to be putting him above Dragon Fist Goku just because a lot of these matches are decided very early on, and since he's able to cook a bit in the early stages, I think that's definitely a plus when compared to these other units, right? We're going to put Shallot right there, but he has a decent unique gauge. And finally, we come over to Ultra Vegito Blue. He has a similar unique gauge to Beast Gohan in the way that it's an attack type unique gauge. It fills up at the same rate. He gets cover null, and instead of getting card draw speed like Beast Gohan, he gets an extra strike card, which is really good, but he gets 5 counts of cover nullification compared to Beast Gohan's, who's 15, so that's something to keep note of. But his unique gauge flows very well with his kit because he starts off with so much card draw speed that he's able to fill up that unique gauge multiple times, which gets him to combo basically forever. And at this point, you guys already know how stupid that is. He's literally able to do 99 hit combos casually, and because of that, I think we definitely have to put him around this area, right? I still think Beast Gohan's gauge is a bit better just because he's able to do more with the green card and the blue card that are kind of tied in with his unique gauge, but I think BB's unique gauge is still very good. So that's pretty much it for all the attack types. Now we can go through these more obscure unique gauges. So the first one is going to be Kaioken Goku's. Kaioken Goku is a pretty good one. It's a charge type unique gauge, but Kaioken Goku had a pretty interesting unique gauge because his unique gauge would basically give him Vanish, which is pretty nice, and it would give him a bunch of buffs, like it would give him a green card, it would give him health. But I think his unique gauge is very skill reliant, kind of like UI Goku's unique gauges. So because of that, I might have to lower them, but his is really skill based because you have to kind of decide on yourself when you want to actually fill up the unique gauge. Maybe you don't want to fill it up right away because you want to take advantage of gauge restoration. You have to charge stuff properly in between even strike cards and blast cards. Not everyone is able to properly do that. So it's very skill reliant. I think it's probably one of the more skill reliant unique gauges in the game. So because of that, you know, not everyone is going to be able to fully take advantage of how good the unique gauge is, right? So because of that, I'm going to put it slightly below Rose, but I think his unique gauge is pretty solid. So following suit with him, we have Perfect Cell. Perfect Cell's unique gauge on release was unfortunately not the greatest because it took way too long to fill up his gauge. But once you did get it off, you get a bunch of buffs. I'm not a big fan of these unique gauges that just give you a bunch of buffs once you fill it up. I like gauges that kind of continuously replenish itself and you're able to gain additional stuff every time you fill it up. But this Perfect Cell's unique gauge on release was really not that great because it took so long to fill it up. But that was kind of, I guess, quote-unquote, fixed with his unique equipment that starts off his unique gauge at 35%. So that kind of helped out. So because of that, and just because I don't think he does get good buffs, but I don't think it's enough to warrant it only being activated once. For that, I'm going to be putting him probably around here. It's a solid unique gauge, but, you know, nothing too crazy. All right, so now we're going to tackle in Vegito Blue's unique gauge. He has a, I guess you could say iconic, not iconic, but kind of terrifying unique gauge. Everyone is kind of traumatized with this unique gauge because it basically counters every single range-based attack. And that was pretty powerful, and it has a similar effect to what UI Goku's unique gauge does, and that's controlling the match. Because people will be afraid to blast you, and at that point you're just kind of stuck there not being able to do anything. It stops combos because it destroys strike cards and all that stuff. So on release, that unique gauge was terrifying. It was powerful. Now obviously Gogeta as a unit was completely broken on release as well, even if you removed the unique gauge, but just adding on with that unique gauge, it was ridiculous, right? So I'm tempted to put it, obviously nowadays it's kind of easier to manage because, you know, people didn't do this much on its release, but the best way to just really deal with this unique gauge is just by simply popping it with someone that has type advantage or simply eating the damage, right? It's kind of a, I guess you could say, quote-unquote, bad way to deal with it because you're still going to take damage, but it's a better way than simply waiting and letting the opponent control the match, control the flow of the game, control sub counts. So, you know, I think just nowadays it's much easier to deal with it, but on release, it was definitely a hard thing to fight back against. So for that reason, we're going to put him right behind here and leave him there. I think that's a good spot for him. Next, we come over to Ultra Hit. Ultra Hit has definitely a very unique gauge. It's a time-based unique gauge, so you have to wait a certain amount of timer counts for it to fill up. I forgot the actual number. I think it's like maybe like 20 timer counts, 30 timer counts. I forgot what the actual number is, but once you get that filled up, then you're able to use your green card and time stop. Now, time stop is a very broken mechanic, but you do have to be somewhat careful on how to use it. You can't just use it all nilly-willy and then, you know, just on point-blank range or full screen because the opponent can easily counter, right? So the best way to use it is just simply, you know, vanishing it during a combo. It's not hard by any means. I know a lot of people like to say, oh no, his unique gauge is kind of hard to land. It's not. It's pretty much brain dead. It's very easy to land, and once you get it, it's basically a guaranteed hit, a guaranteed kill on any unit. Granted, you launch the ultimate. it's like almost a what 95% chance to kill on pretty much anyone. And because of that, that is a very, very powerful mechanic. So because of that, I'm tempted to put this guy probably around what I say is better than the UI Goku unique gauge. Just the fact that he can one-shot someone is very strong. But if you miss that by any chance, you can't do anything. I'm gonna put him probably above Gojo. I'm gonna put him behind, maybe here. I think here, because it's good. It's broken. I'm telling you, it's broken. But if you somehow miss it, it's done, and the unique gauge is pretty much fodder at that point, right? Actually, no, you can refill it again. You can use it. You can use multiple time stops. It doesn't happen often, but you can use it multiple times. I'm not too sure about hit. I don't know how to properly rank this guy's unique gauge. We'll leave him there for now. Next we come to the Buu duos. This is basically reliant on how many times you tag switch out. And you have the standby mechanic. I'm going to be honest, these guys, they're probably going somewhere here. It takes a couple of switches to actually get the the last stand mechanic, but that last stand mechanic for these Buu Bros itself is just not that worth it. The big boom at the end is not that powerful. Vegeta can easily get incinerated, and you need to do a lot of switches to actually get it filled up. And the Buu duos themselves are just trash. So we're just gonna put the Buu duos probably just there. Honestly, even here, I think Vegito has the worst one. I would say they have the second worst one. Kid Buu. Now, Kid Buu has a pretty interesting unique gauge. Him also is a time-based unique gauge, so you have to wait a certain amount of timer counts for it to fill up. But once you fill that up, you get your damage, you get reduced damage received, you get increased card draw, you get arts cost down. He has a pretty good unique gauge because it flows so damn well with his entire kit. Once his unique gauge is filled, you can have a blue card that locks in. His green card is able to give you a blue card. If you get the green card and your unique gauge is full, you're able to combo for a very long time, and he does really good damage. Get that blue card, you lock in. So much to do. But it's very easy to get rid of his unique gauge because all you need to do is tap it, but you're able to replenish it once again, and it actually even fills up while you're on standby, which is really nice. So his unique gauge is really good, and it flows really well with this kit. But would I want to place it too? I wouldn't want to place it too high because the unique gauge itself is not like anything crazy, right? I mean, it gives you card draw speed and some damage, but it's nothing too crazy, right? It just flows really well with his own kit. So because of that, we're going to be putting him probably right here. I think it's debatable, probably above 17s, below Ultra Super Gogetas. I think his unique gauge is good, but I do think it's not as crazy as like these other guys' unique gauge, right? So I think Kid Buu at that spot is a decent spot. Next, we come over to Go Frieza. Go Frieza, they have to be somewhere here. Their unique gauge doesn't do anything other than countering your rising. I honestly want to put him here. I really want to put him there. Their unique gauge literally controls the whole match, and that whole match is decided by that rising rush. They're able to counter any rising rush, and it flows really well with their kit because pretty much any unit that doesn't have uncancelable cover null, which there's only 3, Sword of Hope Trunks, Frieza from the Go Frieza, and Rev UI, only those 3 can actually rush a team that has Go Frieza securely while they're on standby. And that's only if they're on standby. If they're actually on the field, then you can't rush them. They control so much, and they're able to freely rush as well. So that unique gauge is extremely powerful. Obviously, once the timer counts are gone, he loses that ability. But once he's last man, he gets that gauge back to full, right? So it's a strong mechanic. It's a strong unique gauge. But would I want to put it at the #1 spot? Because I still think Beast Gohan has a ridiculous unique gauge. This is a tough one. I would say these 3 have like probably the 3 of the best unique gauges. I don't know. This is a tough one. It's gonna be a 3-way tie probably, but they have a really good unique gauge. All of them. It just does so much. It's crazy because this Go Frieza's unique gauge only does one thing, but that one thing is stupid. It's actually just dumb. So we're gonna leave it like that for now. I'm gonna put it #3 just because these guys' unique gauge, you're able to continuously get it. It just does so much. We're gonna do it like that, but these guys' unique gauge is ridiculous. Then we come over to the Gammas, which is pretty much the same thing as the Buu Bros, but their unique gauge is a bit more effective because, first of all, their last stand mechanic is a lot stronger. The unit itself is a lot better, so its impact is much stronger than what Buu Bros was. But the unit itself is already very good, and is not entirely reliant on that unique gauge, which is why it makes the gammas good. So since the unique gauge is basically the same thing, but just a bit better because the unit is a bit better, we're still gonna put them a bit lower, just because the unique gauge itself doesn't do that much, right? So we're gonna be probably putting him like probably here. I think that's a good spot. Cell, do I want to even put? I think so. I'm gonna put him a bit here. The first perfect cell, and then we come to the last one that got the unique gauge, LF. Purple perfect cell, perfect form cell, not perfect cell. Now this guy's unique gauge, is actually pretty fucking snap. It's actually pretty good. He gets once it fills up, it resets to 0, and he gets 3 cards. He gets health, he gets key, he gets his vanish back, he gets damage, he gets card draw, he gets cover and all. It is actually a ridiculous unique gauge. It's actually ridiculous. I'm gonna put this guy here. He has such a good unique gauge, and it works so well with his main ability that gives him the blue card and the extra unique gauge, and he's able to get his vanish back. You can very easily get a double vanish quickly with his unique gauge, especially since you're starting off with 85% of it already, and you just get so much. And the best part is you can continuously fill it up. Like, this is such a good unique gauge, like, you don't understand how good it is. And of course, like B's gone, he gets 15 timer counts of cover nullification, right? Not like 5 like VB, but 15. So he gets a lot of cover null, and just, it's actually pretty, like, ridiculous. I remember using him for like these 1v3 videos, and like just when I was showcasing him, and I was noticing like, damn, this unique gauge is actually fucking cracked, man. Like, no jokes, it's actually ridiculous. But this is going to be pretty much it. It's honestly very hard to rank unique gauges because a lot of them are really entirely reliant on the unit itself, while others are not that great, but the unit is good as well. So it's kind of hard to rank them. It's almost like a ranking based off the unit's impact on release, almost, but at the same time, it's not. Because like Rev UI on release wasn't that great. Well, I guess was underrated, but his unique gauge, the dodging mechanic itself, is already very good, right? So I think I'm quite satisfied with this. His unique gauge is pretty hard to gauge or rank because it doesn't do much, but it does one thing really good, and that's that rising rush counter, right? That's why it's that high. But I'm gonna put him right here because I think these guys' unique gauge is they're just so good. They're just so good. Like I said, this is very, very subjective, and it's very hard to rank. So don't flame me too hard if some of these placements you don't agree with. But definitely let me know what you guys think and what you think is the best unique gauge in the game. Because honestly, I'm really interested to know what you guys have to say. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and don't forget to subscribe. That is so important, so don't forget. Alright, have a great day. See ya.